This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Good morning. Happy Saturday morning, and welcome to Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we are your hosts. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Grace.
And we are back to do our favorite thing for y'all, the audience. We are going to tell another true crime, quote unquote, true crime comedy tale based on an episode of a classic animated cartoon. We have been doing the Rescue Rangers, all right, for the past 7 weeks. This is week 7. We have one more.
Wow.
Yeah, we have one more episode of Rescue Rangers left after this. If you're new to our podcast / video podcast, then we try to do like 8 episodes of each different cartoon that we talk about. And here we are coming towards the end of our Rescue Rangers journey. And today it has, which I feel like maybe we say that too much, but it's because it's always true.
Yeah.
Why are we always going on these random journeys with these animated rodents? Anyway, today Grace will be our tour guide or our journey woman, taking us through an adventure, a mystery. Would you like to take it away, or is there any other business that I am most likely forgetting to share with our lovely viewers and listeners?
I don't think so, but it just really makes me wish that I was doing like an episode, how like my first Rescue Rangers one, like they were on a safari guide or like a tourist guided trip, so that I could like segue smoothly into it. But we're literally not at all anything.
I wish I would have thought of that during that episode. Go back, delete that episode, re-edit it, and then re-upload it.
For that like 8-second line.
Yeah. And we're like, you just clip it straight from this video. So we're like still wearing these clothes. It's like so out of sync.
Yeah, like the audio is better. Like, I also don't make the segue. You just say that, and then we don't record me making a segue.
Yeah, smooth.
Yeah, like always.
Any schmazies.
All right. Well, I am very excited to bring you this episode today. I think I texted you about this earlier, but this is my favorite episode that I've watched so far of Rescue Rangers.
Cool.
Because it gave me the chance to like really geek out on something as I was watching it and as I was writing it, which we'll get to that eventually.
Dive into that. Cool.
But this is season 1, episode 26 on Disney Plus of Rescue Rangers, entitled "The Case of Stage Blight." And yes, so the classic play on words, not really referencing anything, but stage fright, stage blight, all that stuff. And this episode, also why I love it so much, features, this is going to be a big statement, maybe one of my favorite Rescue Rangers criminals to date.
Oh, yes, that is a big statement. That's a big one.
Rescue Rangers criminal. Okay. Because I am fascinated by him. And the fact that from his backstory that he actually tells himself in this episode, fascinated by that. I'm fascinated by the way he's depicted in interacting with the world, because for both of those things, of his backstory again and his present day, I don't even have to that wildly speculate about this character.
Oh gosh. The writers did all the speculation for
They did. Oh, they gave it to us up front. We'll get to them shortly, though.
Cool.
So
I can't wait. Oh my gosh.
Dive into this sucker here. So, Alexis, buckle on up, dive on. Yes. You try to dive in, but you're buckled up. So like, I can't dive.
The safety thing just keeps coming because people usually just dive right from their cars and just like run my car into a community pool. Yeah.
Yeah. You did it. Thank you. I appreciate your dedication.
Thank you.
So on what seemed like a lovely night out for the Rescue Rangers team, they found themselves the whole gang, duct taped at the mouth and tied up, but not tied up in a way that they were like incapacitated. Yeah, we're going straight in, baby.
Oh my God.
Instead, all of the gang were tied up to strings and ropes and being pulled every which way as if they were marionettes, forced to play out a scene on stage while controlled by someone much larger in his so-called dinner theater. But just as Chip or Dale, I don't remember which one it was, is able to fight back and, kind of pull down the string that he's being controlled by and rip his duct tape off, yelling at their captor. And he's able to kind of like move around and get all of their strings in one giant knot so they can't be controlled anymore. The captor simply just gives a shrug and says, I should have known better than to work with amateurs. Fine. We'll dispense with the theater part and get right to dinner. And with that, he holds his forced marionette captives over his mouth, ready to eat the rescue rangers right then and there.
This is all in the first few seconds. Sorry.
Of my story, it is.
Okay, got you. Okay, cool.
That's what I like to jump into the moment and then we'll backtrack here.
Gotcha. So, okay, please, yeah.
Yes, so he's about to eat the rescue rangers, as he has done for others that he did not deem worthy of the stage, because everyone's a critic. Am I right, ladies? Let's tell you.
Art is so subjective.
Yes, with the rescue rangers soon to be out of his way, he can continue on his original mission, which is straight up more murder of those not worthy to grace his stage. So, with the rescue rangers all dangling over their death and impending doom for someone else that we'll get to, like I said, we're going to hit pause real quick and backtrack to figure out who's trying to eat them right now and how did the rescue rangers become marionettes / dinner?
What's
exactly
going on?
Yeah. So, our hungry criminal today, Alexis, is one Sournose de Bergerac. Is his name. It is quite the name.
Like quick Simon. Sorry, go ahead.
I Googled the name because I was like, the fuck? And the writers, because they're always like pulling clever little Easter eggs. So quick Google tells me that there was once I want to say this wrong. You speak French, you'll be able to say it right, maybe. Cyrano. Cyrano de Bergerac. Is this who you were trying to say 2 seconds ago?
Yes. Can I say it was? But
here's
funny. Yeah. You know how I know that name?
How?
From Bob's Burgers. Linda makes a joke about it in one episode. I can't exactly remember the context, but she name drops him. Yeah. I thought it was a play. Maybe it's an actual... Boom.
No, you are correct.
Okay.
So,
I didn't think it's a person or a play.
It's actual. It's both. It's a person that then was put into a play. A play was based on him. Okay. So, how do you say his first name? You sound French.
I don't. Can you repeat it just in your way? Because I forget.
Cyrano.
So, if Linda Belcher's pronunciation is correct, that's what Cyrano.
Okay, great. We'll go with it. I'm not going to fight you on it.
I don't know the French of it. Classic that I didn't learn that from studying French for however long. And
that's what I thought you were going to say.
From Bob's Burgers. No,
where we learned
everything from TV, Grace. You know this.
Still cultured AF that you immediately were like saying it. And I was like, no, Alexis, you're not going to know it. And then
I was wrong. I was saying Simon though. So I don't know. It's like Cy something.
Whatever. I had no idea. So you get like all of the 1,000 points for that.
Thank you.
So
thank you, Linda Belcher.
Thanks, Bob's Burgers, as always. Yeah. So the actual person lived from 1619 to 1655, and he was a French writer and soldier, widely popularized through a drama by Edmond Rostand in the late 1800s. But of important note, the actual human being, Cyrano, whatever, he was a famous duelist and was known, somewhat hilariously and rudely, for his large nose.
Oh.
Both of these are very relevant. The dueling part will be relevant later. But the large nose is relevant now because our dear Sournose de Bergerac is an alligator.
Okay.
It's got a big old nose. I guess it's got a snout and then a tiny nose, but big old nose.
But
anyways.
A lot of
So we're just gonna call him Sournose because that's his name and they are just very literal with it. Nice. After this very cultured last name. Sournose.
That's the closest we can get to Cyrano.
Yeah, exactly. So he's an alligator with wild yellow, green, and red crazy eyes. who dons like a small cap with a big old green feather and like a, maybe like the real Cyrano de Bergerac. Also, like, imagine anyone who, like, Laurel, who lives in France, is listening to this and is, like, screaming about my pronunciation this whole time.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Hey, Laurel.
Perhaps, like,
judge
hey,
away.
Hey, girl. So, like, maybe the real one, he also wears this little cape, like little black cape with, like, a very high collar. And he this is a very specific reference, he kind of looks exactly like the alligator in Fantasia, who's chasing all the hippos around in the like OG Fantasia, which is funny because it's all Disney. So they just drew the exact same character.
Probably. They reused the cell paper, honestly. Just like, go find a cool looking alligator.
Done.
Use that.
Yeah, awesome. But he's got like the same little cap and everything.
It's also sounding very like Three Musketeers-esque.
Yes, it is. Very much so. Very much so. So we know the origins of Sewer Nose. I'm going to get into this before we get into our full episode in the action, because he tells us himself in a very dramatic soliloquy.
Oh, of course.
So Sewer Nose was born in the Louisiana Bayou, which he still like every now and then has faint like traces of that like Bayou drawl, but like it comes and goes. So it's not consistent at all. But tragically, instead of having what I imagine is actually probably a pretty dope place to be an alligator and have a childhood in like the swamps of the bayou, he and his other like litter mates, nest mates, brothers and sisters and other eggs, I don't know if they were called, I could have looked it up, I guess. Instead of growing up with them, and his gator parents, pretty much as soon as he hatched, he was snatched out of his egg. And it was brought to what he calls a, quote, metropolitan pet store. So I assume maybe New Orleans. But he tells us, almost as a side note, and I directly quote, "You could imagine the psychological damage." Remember that, because that's important. Okay, so his story gets like a little fuzzy from here. It sounds like he was adopted from the pet shop and so again uprooted and moved to New York City, because he then tells us that as soon as he started get settled in his new home, again, he tells us directly that he was yet again uprooted, but this time even more traumatically as, and I quote, "Someone's mother flushed me into the city's sewer system."
Oof.
Grim. So basically, lots of uprooting, lots of being torn apart, lots of displacement in this dear gator's life. So with nowhere else to go, Sewer Nose tells us he made his home right there in the sewer system of New York City, right beneath, dear listeners, the place where our episode takes place, which is right beneath the Opera House. And now I'm not saying that the writers of Rescue Rangers straight up plagiarized Phantom of the Opera for this episode.
No. We're not saying that at all.
I'm not saying that, but I did listen to the soundtrack on repeat while I wrote this script for days on end right now. So actually, Alexis, if you could like insert organ music from our Scooby-Doo episode, like right here.
Now.
That would be great. So quick side tangent. Have you ever read or seen Phantom of the Opera?
Seen.
Okay, great. I also haven't read it.
Although it has been a long time since I've seen
fine. It'll come back to you as I go through this episode.
I hope so. Yeah.
It's like a light touch plagiarism of it, I would say.
Oops.
So, but as real quick side notes of I love this musical so fucking much. It was the first musical I ever saw, I think maybe in Toronto. I still cry to this day when I see it because it's so beautiful. Once my college roomie and I, Jill, put it on our laptop and made like a pillow fort on the floor, and it drew in like half of the floor because everyone heard us blasting it. Everyone wanted to watch it. Also, I took Justin to see it back when we lived in Salt Lake City, and he didn't know what he was getting himself into, and particularly did not know that Phantom of the Opera is a fucking rock opera. And so like the opening scene is like this cool auction, and all of a sudden it's like oh, cool, French old-timey auction, doop, 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 doop. And then they go, illumination. And then all of a sudden, like the guitar and like electric organ music plays, and this giant chandelier flies up from the stage and over the crowd. And Justin just straight up like mouth ajar, like whipped his head at me like in the theater and was like, holy shit. And so
his eyes were open that day to the true theater.
Yes, his life was changed, as was mine when I was like probably like 8 years old and saw this like musical, and I was just like,
that's what you did. You like looked at your parents that way, like jaw dropped, head whipped around. 8-year-old Grace.
8-year-old Grace. Yeah.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I was very thrilled about this episode.
Awesome.
So
I now understand why it's your favorite episode and why this is your favorite villain.
Yes, hands down. So before you think that, you know, our prima donna Sewer Nose is living some sad life, he's actually not alone in his small, like low-key palace beneath the opera house. And quick side note, not only is his palace like pretty sweet, it's lined with like torches and candles. There's like this very like elaborate bedroom and musical instruments and a broken mirror and a small stage and a long stone staircase and fog, which is literally the exact same setup from Phantom of the Opera, is Sewer Nose's house. So again, a sprinkle of plagiarism.
Just a touch. We'll call it fair use. It's fine.
Yeah, we'll call it something. It gets a little more heavy-handed with each passing second. Anyways, like I said, Sewer Nose is not alone down there in the sewers. So he's joined by two people who are like, they think they're small people. They're like very, very tiny. One named, and this is going to show how uncultured and uneducated I am as well.
After you go on about your love for Phantom of the Opera. Yes. Euripides, who is just as dramatically dressed as Sewer Nose. He, like his namesake, which is apparently a Greek tragic playwright, he dresses in a toga and laurel wreaths, but he like to show us that he's like the nerd of the group. He's got like huge, thick, round glasses on. So that those are not period accurate, like time period accurate. They did
not at all. Not at all. The writers were like, well, how else will we know he's the dweeb?
Yeah.
They gave him like the nasally voice.
Yeah.
Yep. And
that's glasses. Not enough.
Yep. And then there's also the third of this little criminal party is another very small person named Voltaire. Named after, the French Enlightenment philosopher. Yeah. He wears like, the 1700s tailored all the way buttoned up suit that's very stiff and speaks with a French accent the whole time. And is kind of a little pompous. Like he's a little snooty because, he's part of the Enlightenment period, unlike these other peasants.
Renaissance man, quite literally. So real quick, you said these are like actual people, human people,
and an alligator.
Okay, cool. Yep. Just making sure.
Yes,
I get what's going on.
They live in a sewer,
and they're like tiny people, like okay.
They're just physically very small, or the alligator is just very huge. But I think they're actually no, they are very small because we see them up near the rescue rangers eventually, and yes, they're just very tiny people.
Interesting.
Yes. Okay. So it's
that
pretty
sewer
clear.
Mutated there.
Probs actually. That's a whole other side tangent, side quest. Yeah. So it's pretty clear that the three of them living under the opera house with access to it through, the twists and turns of the sewers, have become patrons of the opera from afar, knowing all of its ins and outs, every note that gets played and sung, the sets, the musicians, the actors. They even make some decisions behind the scenes, almost like they were phantoms of the opera.
Oh, you don't say.
Perhaps.
Interesting.
So when the three of them aren't slinking around the opera house or putting on their own shows down in the sewers, which they do quite often, with Sewer Nose always as the lead role, because like I said, he's the prima donna, he is the premier actor. They kind of just like bicker with each other almost constantly over performances, critiques of each other's acting and singing, critiques of the shows in the actual opera house. Again, everybody's a critic, so they all think they're right all the time. None of them are great at taking critiques. They actually are really bad at it. But still, it's mainly Voltaire who's like the biggest critic.
I was going to say that. Yeah. I was going to say Voltaire is probably the worst at taking criticism.
Oh, yes, that. But yeah. Like none of them are good. But as for like dishing it out, Voltaire dishes out the most. Euripides, the Greek one, he's like a total like brown nose to sewer nose. So there, that's what's going on with them.
Brown nose,
but
sewer nose. Ew.
Yeah, gross. Gross. Actually, brown nose down the sewer. Yeah, I don't know what's on that nose. You. That was a poop joke. Sorry.
Yeah, we love poop jokes. Everybody poops.
Everybody poops. Everyone. So, say like some other Phantom of some other opera, Sewer Nose believes that he knows best for the theater. He hints towards the fact that when shows haven't gone his way before, he just eats them. If whoever gets in his way, he just chomps to make sure his vision comes to light. Going as far, we'll see later on, as threatening just to eat the entire audience if they don't react how he wants them to react to what he sees as his show.
Okay.
Yes.
Emotional damage indeed.
Yeah, so I think, like, once again, showing a similar violence to the OG Phantom of the Opera, he's like totes down to murder people to get his way on the stage.
Yeah.
Reminder, none of this so far has been wild speculation. This episode is fucking wild, and all of that was in there.
I am amazed. This sounds like an R-rated, like... Disney after dark, not Disney afternoon.
I mean, you're not wrong at all. So
how they snuck this in daytime hours. I'm not sure.
Down the sewer, things get dark. So, I mean, operas are usually just the matinee nighttime shows anyways. So there you have it. So how did the Rescue Rangers end up at how did they end up as his next theater disappointment on their way to his stomach for dinner? Before you think that the Rescue Rangers were having one, we're just hanging out in the sewers, which they weren't, or two, having like a classy night out at the opera, know that this is all Dale's fault. So
that's per usual.
Dale, classic mix-up. So Dale hyped up on some action movie that was coming out in like the movie theaters. Dale dragged the Rescue Rangers to see the movie with him, but clearly did no research at all. He was just like on the street and saw the word theater and brought them in.
Oh my
God. Seems like, and it just ended up being an opera house. So like he did no background research at all. So
he didn't know that there is more than one theater in the world.
No.
Yeah,
he didn't even know what this place was.
Genres of art, no less.
No, not at all. Literally, he saw the stage and the curtain and was just like, a screen's gonna come out here soon.
Eventually, right?
Where is it? Yeah.
This isn't what I paid for.
Yeah.
Gosh, they didn't pay at all.
We didn't pay anything. They stuck it where rodents. So as the music starts up, Dale immediately groans. Chip immediately is like, we got more important shit to do, like solving crimes. But in a shout out to your last episode, when Gadget gasps with joy at the opportunity to be cultured, of course, Chip and Dale immediately are like, we'll stay. We'll stay to get cultured. This sounds great.
Oh my gosh.
So they zoom to sit next to her, up on the rafters where they're all sitting. So yeah, their desperation is showing.
Yeah, of course. They will do anything to impress her.
Yep. But even Dale's left for Gadget can only go so far because this bitch cannot hide his straight up boredom as this opera starts. He's like, what is this? What are they doing?
It's your fault that they're there, or his fault that
bro.
They're there anyway.
Yeah, no wonder Gadget's not in love with you. Shut your trap, man.
Right, she's trying to watch it.
Yeah, pretend to be interested in what she's interested in. So below, the stage is set in this French Roman garden situation. There's a big marble fountain, a winding marble staircase with a king at the top. who announces that it's the beginning of the masquerade, which is one of the best songs in Phantom of the Opera, Masquerade, classic. There's like a marble balcony with a woman because it's a masquerade, she's in like a Viking outfit. She's got like a long dress and fur cape and like the like long, I don't know, blonde braids, I think, or like curled up braids with like.
Is that Masquerade?
She has no helmet on, but or mask on, but she has like the metal helmet with like the horns sticking out for her masquerade look.
That's like cosplaying. She has everything. She has everything but the one thing you need for a masquerade.
You see her mask entirely.
Yeah.
I wondered if it was like, it just reminded me of like the Looney Tunes, like Bugs Bunny opera episode, which is a very classic one. And when he's
doing the piano,
yeah. There's someone playing the piano there, and that's what he's dressed up as at one point. But anyways,
the Viking, yeah.
So that's
this is a random tangent. But what opera is that from? Because now that you say that, I see so many plays on references on the Viking, opera singer with pigtails.
Yeah, you know what? I literally thought about Googling it and just saying like Viking woman opera ? But I was way too hyped on Phantom of the Opera.
Cool, fair. You didn't want to.
Yeah, hypey that I was just like, don't care.
Yeah,
keep it moving forward. So that's
fair. We'll look into that later.
Yeah, for all I know, this entire like mini opera in this episode could be a real opera, and I just didn't care enough. I was like, Phantom.
Like, this is it.
Yeah, this is the only one I care about right now. So a Viking woman, who we shortly learn is the king's daughter, starts singing about her sadness that her lover is gone. But then suddenly a pirate leaps through the window on stage. Her lover returned from I don't know where, but apparently he's there to save her and whisk her away. I will say, he's wearing like a Zorro mask, so he is in the masquerade.
He's ready for the masquerade.
Yeah. Yep. He's got like a head to toe red fit on. And this king sticks his guards on them, and a pirate duel begins. Pirate guard duel begins with like little fencing, like the Three Musketeer swords. For those listening to the podcast, my was me fighting.
Was her sword. Fencing?
Yeah, fencing. Thank you. I have to say that Gadget, Monty, and Zipper all were loving the love story portion. They were all like, "Oh, how romantic!" Like all three of them loved it. While Chip and Dale thought it was gross, but as soon as the sword fighting starts, Chip and Dale like pull out like little toothpicks. It's like real cute actually, and they start like sword fighting each other. And they're like, "On guard, you pirate scum!" and like running through like the rafters of the ceiling and like the like the theater catwalks and that kind of stuff.
Sounding dangerous.
Yes, and exactly by your like look of dismay, predictably they take it way too far, and Dale falls off the end of one of the rafters right onto the pirate's hat on stage as the pirate is fighting across the stage and singing about his love. The badly dressed masquerade Viking woman, king's daughter, I guess, princess. And Chip is up there just like, oops, what do we do? He's just like in the like rafters, making sure the other rescue rangers didn't see that, even though they're all watching, so they probably saw Chip fall from the sky into someone's hat. But as the show continues, it's raining chipmunks.
I just imagine, being in a theater and you just see chipmunks falling from the rafters. I guess it's better than mice or rats, but still really freaking weird.
And you know what? That's not the weirdest thing they're going to see tonight.
Oh, gosh.
So this audience is in for a doozy. So
tighten my seatbelt.
As the show continues, kind of like I would call it like a stage door, but it's like, again, in kind of like the more like stage tech, like ceiling part. So like in theaters, they have like catwalks and like places for people who like do lighting and that kind of stuff to kind of like pop in and out of the actual ceiling of theaters sometimes. And so from the ceiling, all of a sudden, one of those doors opens up and you see Voltaire and Euripides, I'm going to say it differently every time, I don't know how the fuck to say this name, stick their heads out and they're like arguing for a better view, because those two always are fighting, especially, of the actors below. And as the actors, with Chip still in their with Dale still in their hat, take their bow after this finished fight scene and like winning back the love, Voltaire and the Greek one are actually cutting through like a little file, a rope that holds like this giant sandbag that's like for the curtain. And so they're sawing through it really quickly, and it falls immediately to the stage. But luckily, in that very second, the pirate that's got Dale on his hat takes a step forward for his bow, and the sandbag falls right on the spot that the pirate moments ago just was, like literally falling through the actual stage. So that was a heavy fucking
that
sandbag.
would have probably taken him out. That would have killed that dude.
Indeed would have. And so obviously the theater starts to panic. Everyone is freaking the fuck out. Luckily, Chip saw everything that happened because he was up in those rafters. So he grabs the rest of the rescue rangers, grabs Dale, and they hit the trail into kind of like those back, catwalk type of things, and kind of the backstage of the theater, because Dale or Chip was like, yeah, I saw who fucking did it. Let's go get them. They were trying to kill that actor. So as they go through the backstage, it eventually leads them to another trap door, this time in the floor. And they plunge down into the sewer, where the light is just barely streaking in from above. Hilariously, as they like enter, like they get to the bottom, like the stone steps, and it's the sewer with like fog everywhere. And hilariously, the writers actually put in like dramatic electronic organ music at this second,
nice.
literally a la Phantom, as they enter the sewers. And so the fog rolls in, and there's a little boat there, again, like fucking Phantom, that they hop in and start taking into the sewers to find what the fuck these little people were up to. But instead of being met with sewer nose, because they do eventually find another staircase, and that's where they see Voltaire and Euripides arguing about their failure to, quote unquote, get rid of a no-talent actor like Clarence Dudley, who was playing the pirate.
Oh, okay. So Clarence, gotcha.
That's why I noted that. Yes. And the two of them like literally start physically fighting each other, like blaming each other of like who fucked up this like murder plot and like why they weren't successful at it. But as the rescue rangers approach, this is where you kind of like see them like size wise that like they're pretty small. And so Dale is like amped on like adrenaline of almost being murdered, just having, toothpick fought, and was like, I can take them. And so he runs up with his little toothpick ready to fight them.
Are they that small? Like that?
Yeah.
That's
yeah. They were tiny.
I need to watch this.
Yes.
I'm so confused by these humans. Anyway.
Yes. So as they start to fight, Sewer Nose rises up from behind them. And Alexis.
That'd be terrifying.
There's a little like tiny detail I didn't mention yet. So it wasn't like totally relevant yet. But remember when I said Sewer Nose himself noted the psychological damage he probably suffered?
Yes.
Well, add that on top of being an alligator living in the sewer, and we get like this little tiny detail that you actually just hinted to of like, how are those two so tiny, of Euripides and Voltaire? And it's like kind of sort of because they're actually puppets that Sewer Nose thinks are real, because he like low-key might have dissociative identity disorder. So Sewer Nose control these two puppets, thinking that they are entirely real. He gives them full personalities, different voices, interacts with them, has full conversations with them.
Like Shutter Island all over again.
So a quick armchair moment of, like I said at the beginning, some moderate speculation, because they fully depict him as this. So I'm not even saying this is wild speculation.
Yeah, true.
So for those who don't know, dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder, and it can sometimes like be misdiagnosed as schizophrenia, but they are different. But either way, these voices, which this is distinct in both DID and schizophrenia, is that separate voices to the hearer. The voices are entirely real. They are separate, independent entities. They're not like a made up thing. It's not a hallucination to the person experiencing it. Like, they are real. Mm-hmm. Again, there's like a lot of nuances between DID and schizophrenia. I can't go into the differences between them because I'm not an actual psychologist, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. You reached your half research quota.
Like quarter research.
Yeah.
Like, whoo, this is complicated.
I need a nap.
Let me tell you.
You practically have a PhD in psychology now.
Essentially.
Or psychiatry.
Both, actually.
Both, yeah. Why not?
I'm Dr. Grace. I got 2 PhDs.
Dr. Grace, MD, PhD.
But either way, DID can be a response to trauma in someone's life. And essentially with DID, usually it's you're the one who is kind of switching between these completely separate personalities without your control. And schizophrenia is that you're hearing or seeing, if it's the type of schizophrenia that has like delusions or hallucinations, is that you're like talking back to them, which is why Sewer Nose is kind of a mixture of maybe between the two of them, because he clearly has these different personalities, but is also talking and interacting with them. So, like I said, it can stem from trauma, which clearly Sewer Nose had multiple of. And not only had he never dealt with those traumas, but they were allowed to fester in this underground world that also was surrounded by endless other personalities, because there was a theater right above him. So all he saw was other personalities going on. So as we go on here in our episode, I will continue to mention Euripides and Voltaire as if they were individuals, but keep in mind that every time I do, it's Sewer Nose holding them up as puppets, either on his gator paws or his tail if he needs to use his hand for something else, like giving them voices, interacting with them, etc., etc.
Well, at least those characters make more sense now. I mean, kind of.
I almost put this reveal in later, but I'm glad I moved it up to here for this exact reason.
Yeah, because I would have just kept stopping you. Like, why are they so tiny? I just don't get it, Grace. I know you didn't write this episode of Rescue Range, or did you? No, but I just would have kept bringing it up. That helps. It also does raise more questions, but that's for the end.
What can you do? At least we got one question solved, which they are puppets.
They're puppets, which is why they're small. Anyway. Okay.
Yes. And so, for example, just to, again, give a picture of this whole situation, Dale is trying to fight them. Sewer Nose is rising up behind them with them on his hands. And then all of a sudden turns them, and Voltaire starts yelling at Sewer Nose, calling him a bad actor, as Euripides says, "Please let me introduce you to the best actor, singer, and dancer in all the land, Sewer Nose de Bergerac," or whatever his last name was. And Sewer Nose is like, "Oh, thank you. This is all happening at the same time.
Oh my gosh. And he's like switching voices still.
Yes. Yep. Cool. Switching voices. Yeah. Distinct voices all around.
He's definitely talented.
He's something. So instead of immediately trying to eat the rescue rangers, Sewer Nose is actually overjoyed at their appearance, calling them his audience. And thus he enters his monologue / soliloquy about studying under, quite literally, under the greatest performers of all time. Yeah, see that pun? Under, clever.
Well done.
And this is when he tells his full backstory, and all the puppets are cheering him on at this. While this is happening, he's cheering himself on. Yes. So all of this is happening. The rescue rangers at first are touched with you were torn away from your family, but then they're straight up oh, this croc is off his rock. I'm pretty sure at one point, Monty says that this croc is off his rock.
Yeah.
And then they literally slowly back away while he's and then I came to the sewers, and they're let's get out of here. But as the rescue rangers are trying to leave, Sewer Nose drops a cage on them, and they explain that they can't leave yet, not before the dinner theater that evening.
They are the dinner, right?
Yep, exactly. Which brings us back to where we all started. With all of the rescue rangers tied up as marionettes. Also, side note, they're in like Western costumes because that's the show, quote unquote, that Sewer Nose is putting on.
Okay, the puppets are cool.
Yep.
Voltaire changed out of his suit.
Yes.
Greek guy changed out of his robes.
Yep. And it's all a whole Western show.
Going Don Wayne.
Yep. And so, like I said, as Dale breaks free, gets everyone tied up as a distraction. Again, with Sewer Nose just shrugging and being like, well, I guess I'll just go ahead and eat you then, because you guys did not respect my art in this show, god damn it. Oof. So as he lifts them above his maw, Gadget, as usual, saves the day. So Gadget rips the duct tape off and apologizes for their poor performance in the play that Sewer Nose was trying to put on.
Smart.
And how they could never be as wonderful as an actor as Sewer Nose, who, by the way, they had not actually seen him act yet. Like, he was just controlling the marionettes. Like, they haven't actually seen him act, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's right. He's acting as the puppets. He doesn't think he's acting, but
yeah, which so it's like, is it really acting? It's like taking method acting to a whole new level. Yeah, it's like, no, I am these puppets.
For a second, it sounded like you were just gonna say it's like taking meth in acting to a whole new level.
It's like both.
So all the rescue rangers jump in with compliments, including comments about how Sewer Nose is even better than Clarence Dudley, the current pirate actor who's trash. And of course, Sewer Nose is fucking eating up these compliments and is joining them in lamenting how bad Clarence Dudley is, which is why they were trying to kill him in the first place. But as he's getting hibbity hyped up from his rescue ranger compliments, Sewer Nose is like, you know what? Your Pites and Voltaire, they did a bad job trying to kill Clarence Dudley. And you're right. He does suck. I should kill him myself. And you know what? You're right. I am the greatest actor. Instead of just getting a replacement who I like better, I should replace him. So low-key, the rescue rangers also gave him the idea. He was already trying to murder the actor, but they pushed it for. They're like kind of accessories to murder now, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a little gray area.
We'll see how it ends up. I'm guessing they're on to something, but so far it's looking like they're on their way to jail.
I think that they were just like, great, he'll untie us and then we'll escape. They were, I think, when they were like, oh, he's gonna. Well, actually, they were like, oh shit, that didn't work out, because Monty, in another shout out, Alexis, to one of your past episodes, goes, he's battier than a room full of Jamaican fruit bats.
Oh, no.
Yikes, Monty. Low racist Australian Monty.
Yeah, for one. And two, no, we're trying to forget that episode, except for our coverage of it on this podcast. But in terms of the real episode, they're like, no more mention of Jamaican fruit bats, no more. It got us in trouble.
Yikes, big yikes. So, the rescue rangers are now like still tied up in a big old knot, and they're like, oh shit, he's still gonna go murder. We gotta get out of this. Mm-hmm. So, we cut, as the rescue rangers trying to figure that shit out. We cut to Clarence in his dressing room, and he, by the way, is like French/Swedish and is just like singing to himself in his dressing room. When Voltaire, Euripides, and Sewer Nose individually, like one by one, stick their heads in the dressing room. And then Sewer Nose just bursts in and declares he's there to eat Clarence, like straight up, is like mouth wide open, like stalking, getting ready to chomp down as Clarence is like, no.
At least he set the expectations for this interaction.
Good communicator, honestly.
Very good.
Very clear. I mean, all he does all day is communicate with other two, so he's very good at it.
It's good to know he can do it with real people as well.
Yeah, true. But all of a sudden, Sewer Nose realizes, ever the professional actor that he is, that he can't perform on a full stomach. So instead, they'll just kidnap him. So they straight up
Save
like
him for
throw Clarence into like a set piece and like trap him there for the time being. So again, to no surprise, who's going to save the day for the rescue rangers down there still in the sewers? Gadget. So she breaks them free from the strings, which is not that important except for how she did it, because it's very funny that like she's able to untangle all of them, but they're all like still tied up. And so she like pushes off of Monty's stomach into another marionette, which is a soldier marionette, which as she crashes into it, it's like a wooden toy soldier. It like crumples its arms around her and she blushes. And then Monty looks at Chip and Dale and goes, "It's the uniform, mates. Women go crazy for them." Like straight up calls Chip and Dale out and is like, "She's into uniforms, dudes. It's how the world works."
Even when it's on a freaking a puppet.
Toy.
Or a toy.
Exactly. But anyways, she takes the sword from the soldier and then cuts them all free.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
so that's the only reason why it's important is for that line from Monty, who's got a lot of zingers this episode.
Yeah,
that's all he does
on
all episode. He
nice.
have commentary.
Not using his strength whatsoever. I guess besides his strength for comedy.
Yep, which we all need.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, though, the rescue rangers are too late to save Clarence. By the time they get there, they have no idea where he is. And Sewer Nose has donned the pirate costume, the Zorro mask, and he's walking on stage as Euripides, or like moments before he walks on stage, Euripides is like, "You've got this. It's your moment to shine." And Voltaire is essentially being like, "Don't fuck it up. This is your only moment to shine, buddy." And then here we have a direct pull from Phantom of the Opera, in which we again open on the masquerade scene, and Sewer Nose, dressed as someone else, aka head to toe in this pirate costume with the mask on, which is a callback because in the masquerade song, the Phantom of the Opera is wearing a head to toe all red pirate outfit with the mask on. So again, the heavy, like if they were sprinkling some salt at this point, they've just like opened up the entire like, table salt and they're just dumping it on there for pulling directly from the show / I guess fun. Similarly, when everyone realizes in Phantom of the Opera that it's the Phantom of the Opera, when Sewer Nose bursts onto the stage, it's a fucking alligator. Everybody realizes it immediately and like runs from the stage screaming. And
it's not Clarence or whatever.
Yeah. They're like, "That's not him. We gotta go." So the audience is screaming and running away. All of the actors are running and screaming. And luckily, the rescue rangers quick thinking here, because they are like, "Okay, well, we got to keep him on stage or else he's going to run away or like go eat everyone." And as they're putting together this quick plan to solve this, murderous alligator situation, this attempted murder, this plan will involve some trickery, some cunning, some costume changes.
Oh, yay.
And a bit of foreshadowing in this moment as the camera zooms in to stage right. I guess there's an actor's bathroom and it just zooms in on a toilet to call back to Sewer Nose's backstory of being flushed. So keep that little moment in mind.
Oh gosh.
So again, to keep Sewer Nose on stage, which is the first part of the plan that they hatch. Sewer Nose also, by the way, is like thrashing around saying that he will eat everyone for dinner for offending them in this moment. Yeah, he is pissed. Yeah. But luckily, ever the thinker, Chip hops onto the balcony dressed as the king's daughter in the Viking outfit. But instead of the metal helmet, he still has his Indiana Jones hat on and little the angel Viking wings, but then the Viking dress and metal bra that's part of it, the fur cape, everything.
I missed that at the beginning. I guess maybe was the princess a rodent?
No.
Okay.
She was a human.
Okay, that's so. I was like, wait,
Someone
okay.
had some real fast sewing skills, and Chip was like, I'll be the princess.
We've talked in the past about how there's an entire animal or rodent world adjacent to everything that happens for like humans. Like Fat Cat is the head honcho of the underground crime world for animals. There's actually like a whole theater program here at this playhouse, and there's like a dressing room for all the rodent actors. Go grab something from over there.
Viking, Princess Viking.
Perfect. Yes. But no, I need my hat.
I need my hat. Put the little angel wing horn things on it. Done. But yeah, so I just had to know that the house, he would not budge with the hat.
No. He would never.
Yes, never. So again, ever the professional though, as Chip is literally on the railing of the balcony, like in that like little chipmunk voice, like singing along. And like
everyone fucking knows. Everyone there is like, who is this chipmunk singing right now?
Right, we're already running from a fucking alligator. Now there's a chipmunk. Like,
can someone turn the mic off? We're trying to hear like the emergency announcements. Yeah.
We like the security to tell us where to go. What exit do we go to right now? That won't get us eaten. So, but again, ever the professional. Sewer Nose jumps right back into the scene and starts singing with Chip up on the balcony as the pirate. And Dale jumps on stage as one of the guards with his little fencing sword, saying, "On guard!" and starts to duel with Sewer Nose, which is funny because, again, of the guy Sewer Nose was named after, was a famous duelist. So they are dueling across the stage. Which, to no surprise, a small chipmunk dueling a giant alligator, he corners and disarms Dale in like 2 seconds. Like he trips over something and then immediately is just like, swish. What are you gonna do? You're fucking chipmunk. Yeah. What's your plan, buddy?
The sword Dale is using, even if it's not like a toothpick, it may as well be a toothpick compared to Sewer Nose.
Yeah, for an alligator, it would have been a toothpick. Yes, yeah, like easily. And will be as he's about to now eat Dale. But thinking on their toes, Gadget and Monty had noticed about how when Sewer Nose was going on stage after that last moment with Voltaire and Euripides, the 2 physical puppets were dropped behind him as he like swung onto stage. So Gadget and Monty grab the puppets and jump onto the balcony and start acting like Voltaire and Euripides, since Sewer Nose thinks they're real. Is this taking advantage and abusing someone's mental illness?
Absolutely is.
Yes. Does it work? Yes.
I hope so.
Is it worth it? Yes. In this only scenario only. So they begin mocking. Yes. Yeah. Morally gray situation here.
Yeah.
So they begin mocking Sewer Nose, basically saying that he's they're like booing him, being like, "You'll never act again in this town. You are crap." He doesn't actually say crap, but crap. Yelling it. And even like the nerdy one is like, "This performance was trash." Funny again, Sewer Nose looks up at them and goes, "Et tu, Euripides?" aka "Et tu, Brutus?"
Brutus.
Yeah. So love that little moment.
Yes.
And so, like I said, Sewer Nose is very bad at taking critiques. And now the critiques are coming from his closest friends that he's like staggering back on stage, like cannot take the criticism. And as he's staggering back, going into pure dramatic shock, no less. And as he's doing that, somehow in this very short like love song that had been performed in duel, most likely Gadget, because she's the genius, was somehow able to like repipe the theater and connect the fountain that was on the stage to the toilet that was off of stage right. And as Sewer Nose, I don't know how they did it. Stop asking questions.
She's a genius, all right?
She's a genius, okay? So Sewer Nose, stumbling back, falls into the fountain right as I assume Zipper flushes the toilet. flushing him down the fountain. And it's like low-key kind of sad because as it's happening, Sewer Nose is screaming, Mama! Like reliving his trauma. Much like, might I add, my first Rescue Rangers episode, where the Rescue Rangers just like re-induce trauma onto these criminals from like their OG, like their backstories and histories.
They
and, like,
truly take advantage of these people. I mean, I guess they're criminals, but they
but like still, be like that.
I know. Now this person's going to be even more tormented in prison. How do you think they're going to get reformed if they go in with all of that extra trauma on top of their criminality?
You know what? Maybe this is like, because this is 1989, this is like late 80s, like criminal quote unquote reform, which like was let's just re-traumatize them and treat them like they're not humans, not as if that hasn't changed.
Yeah,
but
just put like in a box with no windows, they'll be fine.
Yeah, it was like even they weren't trying to hide that they were doing that, I guess, back then. Anyways, then it's like over. Like he literally just got flushed back into the sewer, and now to him, like he's gone through, like you just said, another flushing trauma. Now his friends, Euripides and Voltaire, like the puppets aren't there. They're still on Gadget and Monty. So I'm like, people obviously who have like DID and like schizophrenia are by no means dangerous, but like this guy is and has like unmanaged, very serious mental health problems. So like, I don't know what's going to happen to him, but because of the Rescue Rangers like meddling, I think it's about to get worse for this opera house. And I think Phantom of the Opera is about to begin, like directly from the show.
This was a
Phantom
prequel.
Of the Opera. This actually is the backstory of Andrew Lloyd Webber / whoever the French author is, Phantom of the Opera.
This is actually Sewer Nose's his villain origin story. Before this, it was questionable, but now he's truly just going to barrel roll into something horribly dangerous.
He's about to become the angel of music, which is what the Phantom of the Opera is referred to. He's going to find his Christine. He's going to become obsessed with her. He's going to murder in order to get her on stage. He's going to murder because he loves her. And eventually kill himself, because that's what happened in the book of Phantom of the Opera.
Except,
and there you have it.
You're just going to be another sock puppet. Oh wow! Yes. Wonderful,
sing
amazing
for me.
Yeah,
sock puppet
just starts singing to himself. Amazing, wonderful job. That was great.
Thank you.
That was great.
It was a joyous episode for me to watch.
Wow, I have a lot of questions and a lot of comments.
Let's hear some.
Did someone flush these socks down the toilet and this like adorable little, maybe not at the theater, somewhere else in New York, which actually,
it's New York, man.
Who knows? Saying that out loud, I was like, wait, yes, that's definitely what happened.
Yes, that is how he found the puppets. Yes.
It also seems very much like Voltaire and Greek dude were like the angel and devil on his shoulder. You know,
exactly.
Voltaire, like, you're shitty. You need to do better. Yep. Greek dude, like, no, you're the greatest. Just keep on doing you.
That's exactly what they were. Yeah, so and cute. Even like especially physically, like because they're on a
devil in a nice suit, angel in like Greek robes and stuff with the laurel wreath. Yes, I'm loving it.
1,000%.
And then the last comment is, good God, I feel like we could do the greatest crossover between Scooby-Doo, Rescue Rangers, and Darkwing Duck. Where I was like, the moment you mentioned Gator, I'm thinking of the Gator Ghoul. And so I'm imagining the Gator Ghoul like in a Three Musketeers. He was a star of some sort of work of art. So maybe it was actually Sewer Nose, and the robotic gator suit was just his like stunt double, actually. And then you've got Tuscarini from Darkwing Duck, the theatrical, theater-loving criminal, reformed criminal.
Well, even the fact that the costume changes for the Rescue Rangers, the fact that Darkwing Duck, that's literally how he found it. It was like the theater at his high school, like the costume.
Yes. I think what we're learning today is that people who wrote cartoons in like the 80s and stuff, And including actually the 2000s with your episode, your musical episode.
Oh, yeah.
Scooby-Doo. They're just all a bunch of theater nerds.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to no surprise.
Which checks out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
much.
1,000%.
I love it.
Yeah, that was a very fun episode. It again made me just listen to the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack all week long.
Beautiful.
Can't stop, won't stop. I hope to find. So this is like the type of musical episode that I was stoked about, unlike my werewolf episode where I was like, "What did I get myself into?"
It's a musical. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So highly recommend it. Enjoy that watch.
I like how I am excited to watch it. I'm gonna check it out probably right after this.
Yes.
I like how you say that doing this episode is what got you to listen to the Phantom of the Opera album, as if you wouldn't have already been playing that shit on repeat. It's okay. Just admit it. But this was a nice way to make it seem like
purposeful.
Yeah, I was just doing the research. You know,
as if I like.
This was the one time you didn't half research something. Cue montage of Grace like listening to the music, like reenacting all of it by herself. Home Alone.
I went and read the book. Like, yeah, I went and traveled to see the musical live again.
Visited the archives to see like the original script. The original.
I created a time machine so I could go back to the 80s when the first like version of it premiered in London, and I'm there. I'm watching Andrew Lloyd Webber write the musical version.
Just like standing over his shoulder.
I'm like
breathing down his neck.
Can you give the Phantom a red outfit for the masquerade scene? Thanks. It works really well later on.
There has been no time travel paradox from this. Or actually there has, and that explains why this year is so out of whack, because Grace had to go back
and give one outfit suggestion to Andrew Lloyd Webber.
It would be gret if that were red. Just saying, and then you like fade back to the year 2022.
This episode, I'm like, yes, it works. Yeah, and as if all of this, like, as if it's not almost every week in which, like, while I'm working, I'm also like very loudly belting out musicals while like doing my actual work. Except that this particular week, it was just even worse because it's me trying to sing like rock opera music. Wow, like writing my like legal memos and shit for work. And it's just yeah. So
you like accidentally type a few in there.
Over and over again. So yeah, so there you have it.
Great, love it.
Yeah,
excellent job, great job.
Thank you.
Another great episode of Rescue Rangers.
Thank you. Yeah, so between now and next week for your last Rescue Rangers episode, who should they tell this podcast about? Who should they tell?
Who should they tell? Well, I think we've done theater before. Yeah, we have. Oh, but you know, last time I think we said like the what do you call the person? Yeah, the ushers. This time, go to the theater, whichever, whether it's a movie theater or opera, whatever. Yeah. Tell the actual ticket person, not the person working popcorn stand. I guess sometimes it's both, but tell whoever is swiping your ticket. We maybe have done that before. I don't know. But do it again.
I think we have.
We know that people go back to the movies.
Okay, well, but once. Last time it was for the movie theater. Let's just make this thing just strictly live theater.
Boom. Do that.
Great.
Just for the theater.
And then also in the live theater, I think you should like maybe during like the overture, like some people are like still kind of like getting their seats and that kind of stuff. Like go down to the orchestra pit and just keep tapping the conductor. Like, hey, psst, psst. Have you heard of Saturday Morning Mysteries? Have you heard of Phantom of the Opera? Yeah, Saturday Morning Mysteries talks. You probably haven't heard of that show. It's really good. That
you probably also haven't heard of Phantom of the Opera. It's all good.
Yeah, neither of them. You should watch both, but listen, go see Phantom first and then watch Saturday Morning Mysteries. You're doing great, by the way.
They're like still going as you're saying it. They're not even listening, but they're also, everything you're saying is getting picked up in the mic.
Yeah. And like the beautiful acoustics. And also I'm imagining that like you're seeing this as you go see Phantom of the Opera, which again, the overture is when like the electric organ and electric guitar starts. So you're shouting over it.
And also you're doing this while seeing Phantom of the Opera and you're asking the conductor of that opera if he has seen or heard of Phantom of the Opera.
You know what? Just shove like the playbill on his like little conductor stand for Phantom.
Yeah.
But also
make sure you get all those other papers off first, though. Those aren't important. Push those other whatever papers to the side and shove the playbill on there.
And just start actually playing this episode and put your phone there so it's the best acoustics for the theater.
Put like our intro and outro music on.
Turn it all the way up.
That's all the way up. And then enjoy getting pulled out of the theater by security.
Again, like always, we're not liable for your choices.
No.
But that's a good one.
So and like, but like definitely tell us when you do the things we tell you to do. Because like we want to laugh at you for actually doing them.
Yeah. And then send us your tickets for Phantom of the Opera so that we can go see it again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because like we're not gonna get kicked out, but sucks that you did. For whatever reason. Anyways, that's it until next week. Yeah, our last episode of Rescue Rangers. Make sure you join us for that.
Yep, like, subscribe, etc., and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on. So just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.